Good morning to you, Soph. Good morning to everybody tuned into the Aftermath on this Sunday morning, the 21st of September 2025. Hope you're travelling particularly well. Well, what a busy weekend it has been. All the action from the AFL. Soph, we now know who will be squaring off in the 2025 AFL Grand Final. We saw on Friday night a stunning performance once again by Geelong, proving too good for the Hawks. And then overnight, Collingwood, Brisbane seesawed for a fair portion of the first half, but in that second half, Brisbane really ran away with it late, winning by some 5 goals. And we end up with Geelong v Brisbane in the 2025 GF. It's Geelong $1.50, Brisbane $2.60. That line's at 12.5. Total points 170.5. Cannot wait for the big one next Saturday.
Oh, tell me about it, Shorty. I'm very excited myself, being a Geelong supporter. It was kind of like one of those games where they just kind of held the lead and stuck with it, didn't they?
Just held the Hawks at arm's length and were able to just basically do what they had to throughout the course of that second half. And by that stage, you're just hoping to get through without any problems from an injury perspective. Very unfortunate, obviously, for an absolute stalwart of the Geelong Football Club in Tom Stewart. With the concussion protocols, we'll be missing the grand final. You can't help but feel for the veteran who's had a tremendous career and will unfortunately have to be watching on from the sidelines.
And do you think there's anything to the kind of chitter-chat around about perhaps a potential court investigation if his doctors have deemed him fit to play, that perhaps there might be an kind of challenge to that rule?
I think while he would and their club would potentially at least investigate that, I think the big picture will eventually kick in, and that is that the reason why this has been brought in is to protect the player's health long term. And as much as it's going to kill him to be watching from the sidelines, in reality, it's better to be killing him inside watching on the sidelines and killing him in the future with the long-term effects of the knock-on from concussion. And that's what it's been challenging, and there's been a lot of discussion in regards to whether or not the pre-finals bye should actually be the week between the preliminary finals and the AFL Grand Final, and that discussion will now burn very brightly this week given the circumstances that have unfolded in this scenario. I think the flip side to that for Brisbane, now that they've qualified, is that Lachie Neale, who to all intents and purposes looked to be season all over, finished, has spent all of this time in hyperbaric chambers and fast-forwarding his progress in regards to that calf injury. And last night, John Ralph suggested that he's already been ticked off on and will be there ready to play come grand final time this time next week, Soph, which is quite remarkable. I really gave him pretty much no chance of being eligible to be in the grand final, given how sore and sorry he looked when he was able to get off the ground with that calf injury going back a couple of weeks ago now. So that's potentially a real fillip for Brisbane, the return of the dual Brownlow medalist Lachie Neale into that grand final team next week. And would love to hear from our listeners. Send through to the Retrovision text line 0427 789 571. That's 0427 789 571. What have you made of the 2 preliminary finals? Who do you think were the most impressive of the 2 sides? Of course, we know that Geelong took on Brisbane only a couple of weeks ago, and it was a very, very lopsided affair, it must be said. Probably the most impressive performance of the finals to date was Geelong's 38-point victory over Brisbane going back to week 1 of the finals. We now meet up a few weeks later. They'll be pretty similar teams that run out onto the park. But can you make a case for Brisbane to turn around that 38-point margin? Soph, you won't want to be making a case given that you're a Cats fan, but it's a fairly significant margin to bridge. And what we saw on that occasion was Geelong just completely shutting down the key Brisbane playmakers. Can they do it again in the Grandy?
Absolutely. And just quickly before we get to our mate Sully talking all NRL action ahead of their big game today, we've got to quickly get to this.
After a huge weekend of racing and sport, we can all do with a Sunday saviour to round out the punting weekend in winning style. The Tab Touch Sunday Saviour is here to sweeten your Sunday on the punt. It's over to the boys to provide this week's edition of Tab Touch Sunday Saviour.
Maybe slightly misspoke saying over to the boys, Shorty.
You're one of the lads for the day, Soph.
Quickly explain how the rules work for the Sunday Saviour, please.
It's pretty simple. Get involved to that same number we just mentioned, the Retrovision text line. You need to send through a multi somewhere between 2 and 4 legs. It needs to be in, though, by 9 o'clock. And keep it simple. Just, for example, if it's Kalgoorlie today, CR, the race number 1 and the horse number 1, CR11, CR23, CR33, and roll on from there. We'd love to hear from you this morning. The most successful of those particular combinations that come through this morning find themselves walking away with a $100 voucher, courtesy of those fine people at Tab Touch.
And a very good morning to you, Sully.
Hello, Soph, Shorty, listeners. How are we?
Oh, going well, thank you, Sul. Certainly a lot better than many of the boys with horn supporters will be this morning. Canberra, isn't it amazing how sport can work? Going back only a week ago, they would have been thinking onwards and upwards. Our finals run looks set for a big crystal ball ahead. Things are looking great. All of a sudden, try disallowed. Brisbane go up the other end, get the golden point. We now have to face up to the Sharkies next week, and then some key personnel come out. And then last night, the Sharkies just flex up and say, ta-ta, boys with horns, nice run this season, but it's all over. It stops here. 32-12, the Sharkies. Their second half was absolutely dominant.
Yeah, the milk's turned sour. It definitely has. I'm in Goulburn at the moment. It'll be interesting when I get back to Canberra this morning. But you're right. And obviously, Ethan Strange, the big loss with pretty crook, the young fellow. I was talking to some people yesterday morning, and at the end of the day, he's had to pull out, so he was no good. They come in. Sasangi, I thought, was pretty good. But I tell you what, they had plenty of the footy in the first half, 60% to 40 in that first half, and they just couldn't get through the Cronulla-Sutherland Sharks defence, and that was the key. At the end of the day, that game was won on the Sharks defence, and it allowed their attack to roll in the second half, and that was the big thing. It paid dividends in that second half. But I tell you what, the results are results. I'm going to have a pot here. What were the referees told there'd be no sin bins this week after the stupidity last week of blokes having a crack at an opposition player, Hudson Young getting sent to the bin, and then last night, and people aren't stupid. Anyone who watched this game, Toby Rudolph has absolutely put one on Joey Tarpanese schnoz, hasn't he? Has not missed it. Absolutely the forearm whack. It's a sin binning every day of the week. It was like, no, we're 13 on 13 this week. The stupidity last week, we're not doing it.
Nothing to see
wrong.
here.
That's wrong. Because I tell you what, all jokes aside, as soon as Taps got that on the schnoz, he was very quiet the rest of the game. So Toby Rudolph in the old days, Shorty, that's what we used to do. And Soph, we don't do it anymore, but he got away with it because it did the job. And to be fair, this Shark side, they've all come out and they said, we got no respect. Well, they're starting to earn some respect. They can beat the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne on Friday night, they'll earn some respect.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's a fairly significant challenge, though, it must be said, but they will go into that game brimming with confidence off that victory there last night, knocking off the Raiders. Most impressive. We see the Doggies taking on the Panthers today. Gee, this should be a wonderful contest. It's one I'm really looking forward to, Sul. Obviously, the Dogs go in as the big outsiders, and Penrith looking to continue on this phenomenal finals record that they've had, this winning streak that just keeps on going. The Doggies go in as $3.40 outsiders, $1.32 the Panthers. That line's at 9.5. Total points is at 38.5. Paint the picture for us on what we can expect from 5 minutes past 2 this afternoon, Western Standard Time.
Well, Dave and Soph, there's one thing in rugby league in particular. If you stop the other team from scoring, you win finals games. You win any games. This Penrith side have won 13 finals in a row. This is the bit that blew me away, Soph. They've conceded in that 13 wins 120 points in total against. That's 9 points a game. That's what they base their thing. If we have a look at the 5 finals games so far this year, probably the best one I thought was last week, the first one. I thought the Melbourne Storm and the Bulldogs. I know the Bulldogs got beaten, but they played pretty well, Shorty.
Yeah.
And if we look at the Panthers, I thought they got away with a few things last week in New Zealand. Sort of the rub of the green went their way in that second half. We know the Bulldogs are wounded. Crichton's not there, but Burton's gone to centre. I like him as a centre. Galvin goes to 6. I think he's a bit better 6 than a 7. And then Sexton will go to 7. So they come up against the Panthers side, as we just stated there, but they're at full strength for the first time in a long time. Bulldogs have only won 2 of their last 7, and you look at the Panthers back 5 last week, enormous. Mate, there'll be 75,000 there. I know the AFL guys listening might go, oh, well, okay, that's okay. That's massive for rugby league, trust me. I think the Panthers can win it, but I don't think they'll have it all their own way. I know a little bit about the DNA at the Bulldogs this year, obviously with Toby there. And, you know, I spoke to Toby last night. They're quietly confident he's been at training this week with them. They seem to think they can spring a surprise, but I don't think there'll be a lot of points scored. And that's the way, obviously, Cameron Ciraldo comes out of the system at the Penrith Panthers, and he's brought that to the Bulls. So it'll be a dour struggle because I tell you what, there'll be one side wanting they beat the you-know-what out of each other, and that's the Brisbane Broncos. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting 80 minutes, I think. I'll go the Panthers in a tight one, though. The 1-12, that's the sort of one that I'm really looking at.
All right, so Panthers 1-12. That market that you touched on, it is unusually low already, that total points at 38.5, but we just heard a pretty good understanding from you as to why that is the case, with Penrith effectively averaging 9 points per game in finals against them. That would mean that they would have to, if it goes to average, then they'd have to score 30 points on top of that to get the over. So I can understand it. The under's been backed into $1.86. Is that still the way to play? You think the under 38.5?
I think so, Dave. Yeah, but it's going to be a nice day. At the end of the day, it's a sunny day here at the moment, so we're going to be okay. They might try it, but I don't think it's in either side's. The Bulldogs, if they want to play risk for reward, it's something they haven't done in this year. They've been a side that's based on defence as well, so I think they'll just dry each other up.
Okay, it should be a really tight tussle. It's unusual too, the market to be so lopsided in favour of Penrith, given the finishing positions on the ladder. Of course, with Penrith finishing 7th and the Doggies 3rd, normally you'd think the market would be flipped around. But if you know the history of this Panthers outfit and what they've been able to achieve over the last 5 seasons, and you kind of understand why it is, how it is. Also, Sul, the overall market to win from here, Storm. There were question marks. We were talking about that market. Geez, it's flipped and flopped, this market. So they were 275 about 3 weeks ago. And then it all seemingly the world looked like it was going to end for them with 2 or 3 key injuries. They got out to be in excess of $4. They then came out in week 1 of the finals and won. They're now back into $2.60 in favourites at the head of that market. Brisbane $3.75, Penrith at $4.50, Cronulla $6.50, and the Doggies there at $19. Is there one of those sides that you think, if I gave you $100 to spend, how would you be spending it as we speak on this Sunday morning with 5 sides remaining?
Yeah, well, I took the $4
a
couple of weeks ago for the Melbourne Storm. So
nice.
I've been locked into the Storm all year. I think the way things have worked out. The amazing thing is Jerome Hughes had a broken arm. Well, we know he broke an arm. He had surgery 3 weeks ago. There's talk he's going to play in the prelim. So it's quite amazing. I still think the Storm. I think what happened, like them winning last week, it's opened it up. They'll get Cronulla. And then, obviously, I think the other side now of this draw, especially if the Panthers win today, Panthers-Bronco, and the big thing, the way they've done it, Soph and Dave, it's a bit ridiculous. You got preliminary final next Friday night and Sunday. The grand final's a week later. So whoever wins on Friday night gets a 2-day buffer. It's really, normally it's Friday, Saturday night.
Yep.
But they've stayed away from the AFL grand final. But the AFL grand final's on during the day.
What's
the problem of normally keeping it on the night?
It's a big advantage. Big advantage to the Friday night team.
Oh, massive, mate. Honestly, and talking to some friends of Liam Martin yesterday morning, and Marto, they're not happy, the Panthers, because if they get up today, and obviously they think they're a fair chance of knocking off the Broncos. That's the way they're obviously thinking. They're thinking, well, it's not fair to one team. So for me, when you look at it like that, Melbourne Storm have got all the advantages whoever wins that game next week. I might be going a bit early. Cronulla fans will be going, hang on, we're in it as well. But that Friday night game gets a 2-day buffer leading into a grand final. That's got to help.
Oh, no doubt about that. Now, how are we going to get a quid out of this game this afternoon? Sol, take us through your key play. So you've got under 38.5 the most likely. We've got Panthers 1-12. What about a bit of try score action?
Yeah, we'll go Panthers 1-12 at 285, and then we'll do a same-game combo. Okay, today I'm going to go Nathan Cleary to score a try any time into a Panthers win, just a win. We get $4.50 for that. I'm happy enough with that.
Nice.
And just quickly, Sully, do you have a play on the NRLW?
Well, at the moment, obviously they were played yesterday, so we got the two sides that are just that far in front of everybody at the moment, the Roosters and the Broncos. I think they'll play in the grand final, Soph, so we'll work something out on Thursday for the lads with the semis coming up. But, yeah, Roosters and Broncos are a long, long way in front of the other teams at the moment, and that's the way they'll fight it out in a couple of weeks. So that'll be my play in a few weeks. But we're going to go to Nowra today.
Oh, hello.
Okay, Nowra races today. Now, scratchings a little bit, but just have a little play. Sophie likes a little bet on a Sunday. Race 2, number 3. Okay, Rocco Leany.
Okay.
Rocco Leany. Okay. That sounds like what my wife orders when we go and have Chinese dinner. The old Rocco Leany.
bit of Rocco Leany. Stable name Bruno. So if Sully's got a little share in that one.
Oh, nice. Oh, hello. And what's the mail coming through to the ownership group? Time to play today.
Yeah, well, he's only 5 in it now. He's $5, and he's a nice little pony. So we'll see what happens.
How exciting. So you've got obviously other commitments, but you'll be tuning in and on the phone and cheering hard by the sounds? Yeah,
absolutely. Barb, Joseph and the boys have trained the horse. So, yeah, Matty and Paulie, of course. So, yeah, it's always good. You know what it's like. It's just good fun. And, nice. I've been in Canberra long enough now, guys, so I thought I'd better get involved.
I love it. The Canberra connection is alive and well with Barb and the boys. Gee, what an absolute legend of the training ranks she's been there over the years.
Oh, absolutely, and still full of life. And I tell you what, if you ask her a question, she knows which horse and what's going on with it.
This horse has got a little bit of grey about it too, so we love a grey. So Roccolini is the one we'll be watching out for today. They're race 2, horse number 3, Jack Martin aboard, and with Sully involved, we'll be getting right around this today. Currently a $5 chance and $2.15. So lovely catching up with you as always this morning here on the Aftermath. Enjoy this game this afternoon. And just before we let you go, any news when it comes to the Bears? I know they've sort of been off Broadway a little bit with all the NRL finals up and running, but we want to keep an ear to the ground and make sure we have the latest news in relation to the Bears, because it's creating enormous excitement over here in the West, and they'll be here before we know it. Any news of late over the last couple of weeks there that we need to know about?
Well, Dave and Soph, at the moment, it's all just, obviously they can make some announcements November 2nd, as we know, and that's approaching pretty fast. At the moment, they're just getting the back office all sorted. So obviously bit by bit, and when it all is announced, we'll know who's this and who's that. But yeah, talking to Dave Sharp earlier in the week, there's just some preliminary things being sorted. But yeah, it's all good news. Sharpie's heading over in 2 weeks, and he'll be, as soon as he's in town, I think you'll all enjoy his company.
Oh, excellent. I'll look forward to having Dave across, and I know he'll do a magnificent job across here with the Bears, and there's so much interest and excitement over here in WA for their arrival, so can't wait for that. Sul, as always, an absolute treat catching up with you here this morning on the Aftermath. Wishing you all the very best with Roccolini, and enjoy all of the NRL action as well this afternoon. We'll hear from you later on the week with the boys on the Sports Daily. Till then, many winners.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
There we have it. Sully with us this morning here on The Aftermath, where it's 29 minutes after 6. A lot of excitement with Sol involved with the ownership. Soph, you've been involved in any horse ownership?
Yeah, currently got one running around. In fact, he's running on 2J Cup Day by the sounds of things. Salary man.
Oh, good
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, it's with
good
Mac
fun.
Hall. We love Mac Hall. He's
that's great.
He's a good kid. It's just exciting to have a little share and a little dog, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Harness horse or thoroughbred. It's fun.
I've had all of them over my lifetime. A bunch of paces, a bunch of thoroughbreds, a bunch of greyhounds with friends, and there's nothing quite like it. The excitement levels really do fizz up. You allow yourself to dream a little bit.
Completely
sometimes
agree.
we give them an overrating of where they actually are in the real world, but that's the joy of being an owner. You can sometimes dream a little bit with where they might get to, but
100%.
it's all a lot of fun, and it's wonderful to share it with other people as well.
It is. We actually took
special.
the mother-in-law out. She's Irish and has never been to a race in her life. I think the closest she's been is the milkman used to deliver with a dray.
Oh my goodness!
We're back in Galway, but she came to the races and she was just so excited. She was telling everybody about her horse that was running in the first race.
How good's that?
Going around, oh yes, his name's Salary Man. Oh, she was thrilled. It was great. It was very exciting, and he came in second last weekend at Northam. So yeah,
that's fun.
It's always fun.
It's nice. It is nice if they do perform. There's been many a day where you have to head to the bar for a stiff drink when they find themselves in the back half of the field on race day. But look, that makes the wins all the more sweeter when they do arrive. It's been a busy weekend of sport, and we'd love to hear from you here on The Aftermath. Send through your thoughts to the Retrovision text.
Racing and sport from different angles. You are listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
And I did cut you off before you could give that Retrovision text line. Shorty, apologies for that. Old Butterfingers McGee over here.
Oh, don't worry about that, Soph. There's worse things that have happened to me over the years. Now, we, of course, were just reminding everybody, please feel free to not just your Sunday saviours, but get in contact with the program. We'd love to hear from you this morning. What have you made of the preliminary finals? What sort of grand final do you think we will end up with? What did you make of the racing there yesterday? There were some absolutely magnificent performances handed in on the racetrack. We'll hear a little bit more about that over the next 25 minutes with Chris Nelson and also Racetrack Ralphy. But we'd love to hear from you. Here's a big one here from Rusty Gates. Hi, Shorty and Sophie. First of all, I always look forward to hearing Marty on Sunday mornings, but it's refreshing to hear the voice of Soph, the lady behind the successful Sunday morning show. I did mention at the end of the AFL qualifying season that it would be in the interest of the game that because the AFL have sanctioned the automatic 12-day layoff period for a player who suffers concussion, the bye should be before the grand final because it was inevitable that a player would get concussed in a prelim final. Now, one of the game's best players will be robbed of the opportunity to play in a grand final. Also, I fail to understand that all concussions are graded the same, whether it is severe or mild, and if a doctor deems a player has recovered from a mild case of concussion after a week, why that isn't taken into account. Rusty Gates. Thank you, Rusty, for your beautiful message, and that's a nice wrap from Rusty for you, Soph, as well. I'm with you. I think people will be saying, where's Marty this morning? Marty sent through a message yesterday. He was on his flight up to Dubai, and it had live coverage of the prelim final. So he said, what about this, Shorty? He said,
what you want.
And it was live and direct straight through to my phone. So that was very, very cool.
And was he in the pointy end, drinking champagne?
He didn't say.
Bit of Verve Clicquot.
I'm pretty sure he was in a decent seat, that's for sure. So maybe in the first few seats when you walk in, that would be suitable, I think, for Marty, appropriate up in that part of town. And morning, Shorty and Soph. Has Shorty got any early plays on any future cricket bets? Oh, that's one that I will have in the upcoming weeks. I've already started to do a little bit of work towards the upcoming Ashes for this summer, and what a few weeks that promises to be with the Barmy Army in town. But let's catch up with our great mate Chris Nelson on this Sunday morning and recap what was a spectacular afternoon of racing there at Randwick. Hello, Chris Nelson. Come in. How do we find you this morning?
Good morning to you, Shorty. Good morning, Soph. And I knew it was only a matter of time before you took over, so I knew it. Marty's just been usurped off. He's gone.
Yes.
At least he's got internet in the plane, or Wi-Fi in the plane. I can't afford a flight that has Wi-Fi in the plane, so good luck to him.
I'm just happy to get from A to B, Chris. That's all I ask for. If we get there in one piece and get out of the plane in one working, operating piece at the end of it all, that's all you can hope for as a passenger. This was a great day of racing yesterday at Randwick there, Chris. A day that had a lot of expectation in regards to some of the key runners throughout the course of the day. Group racing and, of course, the 7 Stakes was an absolute bottler. We'll kick things off, though, early on in the day. Race number 3 is the first race we're going to have a look at, this benchmark 88, and an impressive performance handed in by Husk for Tyler Schiller.
Yeah, just wanted to touch on this race. I know it wasn't one of the majors yesterday, but the time out of the race was good, both ends, obviously, and overall. And I just think this Husk might have some upside. It was only the second run back from a break in the right yard, in the Hawks yard, and sat up on speed all the way. So did it both ends of the race, was quite strong. I think it was holding those other two late. A similar sort of race, nothing too strong. I think it'll probably get away with something. They may take this one down to Melbourne or something like that. But as I say, I wouldn't be aiming for the stars with Husk, but I think the time that she ran suggests she can get away with something similar or slightly better.
All right, so Husk we can follow heading forward. On to race number 5. This was the Group 3 Kingston Town Stakes over the 2,000 metres. And, it was a very important race for a number of horses. The bubble burst on a couple, but the stocks of Birdman were on the up after this performance. And the runner-up, Adelaide River, was also an excellent performance. It outran its odds there yesterday, going down by a narrow margin to Birdman. I thought it was an excellent performance.
It was, and it's a horse, Adelaide River. And look, he'd had a couple of trials leading into this prep, Adelaide River, and really been sort of pushed along and looked a lot better, but he'd had the 2 runs back and missed out. He was wide first up at Rose Hill, and then he just sort of held his ground last time out. So he almost got it done here. He's a long time between drinks, but he was just outgunned by Birdman, who's one that I think we've spoken about a few times on the show. He often suggests that he's a horse to follow, but he doesn't get it done. Well, he got it done yesterday. He had a lovely run 3 back on the fence there. Every favour in the world. So, look, he probably deserved to win. Adelaide River, as I mentioned. Look, a couple of failures, as you mentioned there, Shorty. Vauban didn't finish off. Tim Clark did report was sort of one paced over the concluding stages. Ended up sitting outside the lead. Probably didn't help. The other one there was Full Count Felicia, who led and folded up. She's not showing her North American form. More Fallons wasn't so bad here. I'd say another run, maybe 2 runs, and we'll see the best of More Fallons as the distances get out over further. But Alamaz was the other one that disappointed, but will probably take benefit from the run. So don't know about the form going forward. I'll probably watch before I get carried away from that race.
It was interesting too, just from the yard there yesterday, they did suggest that Full Count Felicia was starting to look a little bit better, and it did run them along at a pretty significant tempo up front. So might be one to just keep an eye out on as the preparation deepens. On to race number 6 on the program, the Group 2 T-Row Stakes over the 1,400 metres, and Apocalyptic and Tommy Berry to the fore here, defeating Artistic Venture and Tupakara.
I like this filly, really do, Apocalyptic. Now, she was the filly that was a good thing beaten on debut earlier in the year. She came out and won the Furious first up, and then she sat 3 wide here. They didn't go all that hard in front, but she still worked in the run. And I thought at the top of the straight or around the home turn when she got livened up a little bit, she might have been a bit flat. But she soon picked up, and then she coasted up to them in the straight, and she raced away to score by almost 2 lengths, or just over 1.5 lengths. So that was a very, very good win from a very smart filly. I will definitely be following her going forward. Queen of Clubs ran on well once again. She's been doing that of late. One here at odds, $61, ran 7th, Enviable from the Chris Waller stable. Not much luck in the straight, had to switch across heels late, and then did finish the race off quite well. So Enviable, definitely something to follow in an easier race going forward. But, gee, I think she's top class, Apocalyptic.
Just to let listeners know, we actually are chatting to trainer Michael Freedman of the lovely-looking filly Apocalyptic a little bit later on after 7:30.
Very nice indeed. Looking forward to that chat. Chris, back to the performances from yesterday. Race 7 was the Group 3 Bill Ritchie over the 1,400 metres. With your blessing, Alicia Collett from barrier 12, getting the job done over Bazusto and Depth of Character.
Yeah, with your blessing, trip to sell, a tempo to suit here, didn't burn along in front, so I was able to had something in the locker there late. Bazusto had a good run. Depth of Character was okay. Sullivan was probably the run of the race. Now, this is a horse that gets out over further. Now, not many made ground here, but Sullivan did. He was good to the line and he was good through the line. So he looks as though he's in for a good prep. Royal Patronage, he did work the first 400 metres of the race to sit outside the leader with your blessing. He didn't offer a lot in the straight, but I'd suggest maybe the 61 kilos might have had something to do with that as well. Yellow Brick disappointing. Kintyre Blue to start, complete for Giz.
On to race number 8, the 7 Stakes over the mile, and we had to wait until late, but J-Mac timed his run to perfection with Fangirl getting the bob in to nail Lindemann. Cholwolf back in third, Private Eye in fourth. The punters got this one right.
Gee, she's good, isn't she, Shorty, Fangirl? She just she has that will to win. They ran super time here, as you would expect. This was the highlight race of the day by a mile. Lindemann was game up on speed with that pace being run. She's had to run home 10.82 for her last 200 metres to get home over the top of Lindemann, and she only just got there in the nick of time. And she's just one of those horses you can just continually tip back or whatever, and she never puts in a bad run. So all credit to Fangirl. Lindemann was good, as I mentioned. Chael Wolf, I thought he was good. I think he needs further now. So it's a couple of runs at 1,600 metres. He'll get out over further next time around, and there was nothing wrong with his performance.
Indeed. All right, so that was race number 8 on the program. And in race number 9, well, this was another high-quality race, the Group 2 Yarraman Park Shorts and Jolie Star. Wow, what a stunning finish. Again, James McDonald aboard, defeating Tyler Schiller. Generosity was back in third. Marzu was in fourth position, and I was keen on Private Harry pre-race.
Yeah.
And burn marks on the fingers, unfortunately, there. Chris, it did not go to plan for Harry.
No, I don't know what to make of that. He didn't jump well, Private Harry. You can see from that overhead shot, he wasn't the best to begin, and he had to be used up a little bit, but, gee, it wasn't a lot. And he got to second, chasing Marzu, ended up beating him home in the end by almost a couple of lengths. So, yeah, I'd like to see what he does next time, because the jury has to be out and he won't be winning an Everest on that run, that's for sure. But Jolie Star certainly can, and she was an outstanding run here. She was back in the final 4 early. She was the widest of those. She covered plenty of ground. She came deep down the straight, and she's broken 22 seconds after sitting wide to get home over the top of them. So that was an outstanding win from a super mare to beat Briasa, who has come back well, obviously, both heading towards the Everest. And I thought Generosity was quite good at that level. A horse that you've seen plenty of over in WA. Good third. That's a couple of good runs this time in. Probably just a little bit less than this class-wise. Generosity can get away with a race.
Indeed. And in the lucky last, it was Fortune with Zach Lloyd aboard, defeating Narbold and Quietness.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this race. Anyone that's backed Lord Penman here, the $2.35 favourite, should stick solid going forward. He was 1,200 up to 1,600, which was always going to be a query off a 5-week break. But if you look at that run down the straight, he never, ever got a crack at them at any stage and was beaten less than 2 lengths. So next time around, if he's in a similar tight race, you can load up, Shorty, on Lord Penman.
Okay, another one that left a little bit behind from my account there yesterday, Chris, but we can have a look at it heading forward. You're a forgiving man. Sometimes I can be the day after, but generally the day of, it can take me a little bit of getting over. So maybe tomorrow I'll have a look at Lord Penman again. What about the program at the Gold Coast? Anything of significance there?
Yeah, just a couple there. Just a low-key meeting at the Gold Coast yesterday. Out of race 6, Gumdrops is a mare from the Wallace stable that resumed and ran on very well. And the one I tipped in race 8, Aldolfito, ran on from last. That was a very good performance and just missed out against the tempo. So follow Gumdrops and Aldolfito from the Gold Coast. Those horses to follow from Randwick, Husk, Apocalyptic, Enviable, Generosity and Lord Penman.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Chris. Are you having a play today?
Yeah, a couple today, or 3 today. I'm not saying I'm overly confident, but something small on these. Race 2, number 1 at the Sunny Coast is Keitel. Race 7, number 7, Zahur. And race 8, number 1, Jamoma Alpalage. Those last couple, 7, 7 and 8, 1, definitely on an each-way basis.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Chris, we'll speak to you during the week on Wednesday on the Sports Daily.
Looking forward to it, Soph. You have a great Sunday, and the same to you, Shorty.
All the best, Chris.
Racing and sport from different angles. You are listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Where it is now 11 minutes after 7. David Shortte and Sophie Stone with you. Hope you're travelling really well. One man that will be in town over the next little patch here up in Kalgoorlie with his great mate Dane Swan is Racetrack Ralphy. Head to racetrackralphy.com.au for more. He's got the push-up challenge going on at the moment. He's a busy boy and he's been good enough to join us on this Sunday morning. Hello, Ralphy.
Good morning, guys. Absolutely fantastic day in Melbourne yesterday with the two Group 1s and the MCG absolutely rocking with a fantastic prelim final day. But let me tell you, yesterday at Caulfield, that has set up the Spring Carnival. So while there were two Group 1s, there's probably going to be about 5 or 6 Group 1 winners out of it. And I dead set would not be surprised if 2, if not 3, of the majors, as in the Caulfield Cup, Cox Plate and Melbourne Cup, were all seen yesterday. That's how good the meeting was.
Indeed. What we'll do, we'll fly through the early races and then we can go into a little more detail. The first was a benchmark 78. El Duca for Mark Zara defeated Presser and Far Flung.
Yep, pretty basic sort of horses. Amleto was a nice return to some form, the import there, so I think it'll probably find a win for it. But, just sort of basic off-season, benchmark ratings.
All right, on to race number 2, benchmark 78, and it was Shadavar, Craig Williams defeating Zarpo and Eagle Express.
Yeah, so the track played very firm. It was actually a lot of rain about throughout the whole week and predicted, and it didn't get there. So Shadavar's better on top of the ground. A brilliant front-running ride from Craig. He goes all right, doesn't he? So just ran them off their feet. Eagle Express probably ready for a slower tempo or slower track race, but too good Shadavar.
On to race number 3, the Taggets, Miraval Rose with Geordie Childs aboard defeating Stretton Angel and Extra 2.
Worth taking a beat here because this is a very good short race. So Miraval Rose, as we saw last summer, has a lot of talent. It's New Year's Day win at Flemington in that stakes race was excellent. Fine first up run behind Angel Capital that we'll get to shortly and just progressed nicely from that. Stretton Angel back on track, back ridden, back in the field as opposed to last start when it was forward and unsuited. So I think both those horses are absolutely ready to go again. Miraval Rose stepping to 1400, I think at Flemington next start on Turnbull Day, and Stretton Angel's a straight track specialist. So whether she goes Turnbull Day or maybe even Derby Day for a mare sprint, I think they can both be followed with some confidence.
Moving on to race number 4, benchmark 100, and this was a nice performance handed in by Tiger Shark. Clever ride from Luke Curry. Oak Hill got back, was charging home late, but Tiger Shark stole the march. Luke Curry defeating Blake Shin. Clable was back in third, but first couple over the line were both good. Oak Hill was just overdoing it a little bit in the run, Ralphie.
Well, spot on. So if you just saw the last 400, you'd say, yeah, it was a bit unlucky. But if you saw the first 400, that was actually the tail because he just couldn't relax early, and that ultimately cost him the race. Never mind what happened in the straight, as good as he was. And Tiger Shark, well, good training performance here. I'm always a bit wary when they go Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne, particularly on a quick backup. This was a really good run in Sydney last start, and it's obviously got the horse airborne free stable in Clayton. So well done there. But yeah, Oak Hill should have won. They don't pay a lot for shooters.
No, that's the truth. Race number 5, Group 3, Caulfield Guineas Prelude, Estremo, Benny Mallam defeated Vega for Luck. Planet Red went down at the shorts. Space Rider was back in 4th.
Shorty, I'll save some time here on the races 5 and 6. So one's the Guineas Prelude, the other one was notionally the 1,000 Guineas Prelude, even though it's called the Jim Maloney Stakes. That's like having Hayden Ballantyne against Caleb Daniel and saying it's the Ruckman Prelude, because these horses are just not good enough when the Sydney ones come down. So well done to the winners, etc. But pretty basic sort of 3-year-olds in Melbourne at the moment, I'm going to say.
All right, so we'll quickly launch over the listed Jim Maloney, where it was Yum defeating Shadow Ease and Zany Girl. They're all at big odds. You'd like to have had some of the novelties there. We'll move on to race number 7, the Group 1 Underwood Stakes. Now, I tell you something, Ralphie, watching this race, this did get a little bit of fizz in the can of soda, because watching the race and Sir Delius, Buckaroo, just to all intents and purposes, had the march on Sir Delius, and you're watching going, well, this can run a really good third here, Sir Delius, and all of a sudden the door opened up, and one thing I will say, Gay Waterhouse has been a favourite of mine for a long period of time, but when she gets on the microphone post-race and starts getting a bit chirpy, I start thinking there's a horse worth following here, and Sir Delius was that horse yesterday. What an effort from Craig Williams to pick this up and get Sir Delius over the line. But what it looks like from a punter is this horse wants to win. It really did pick up late when it saw that finish line.
Yeah, 100%. So when it won its first Australian start at Doomben, and you can pull out a receipt. I think this is without a fight of this year. So as the Queensland form held up, and Sir Delius, when it won that day, it was off a softish sort of tempo. But if you didn't see it, well worth getting the replay out. At the end of 2,000 metres, and it doesn't matter how slowly you go, it's like saying, well, I just jogged longer than I'm faster than you. Say, Bolt, no, you're not. Third best last 200 of the day at the end of 2,000 metres on a wet track when it won. And I just thought, you are a line-chasing animal, and in both literal and metaphorical sense. Just missed to Lindemann after a genius Nash Rawilla ride at Randwick first up, and then, put the mouthguard in under a real strong ride. Buckaroo was a good run. Now, I wouldn't ruck it at all right off Buckaroo as a Caulfield Cup chance. In fact, I think that's going to progress him significantly given the big mid-race move that Blake Shin wanted to make, and it nearly paid off. But Sir Delius, better further. He's a proper horse. But it might be a case that Sir Delius is a Melbourne Cup horse and Buckaroo's the Caulfield Cup horse. And what we've got is a real true marker with Golden Path, because he's a beauty. And he's sort of like, if I could call him your classic Group 1.5 horse. He's just sort of that between Group 1 and Group 2, and he's run to his best on the quick back up there. So proper race. I wouldn't at all write off horses like Zardozi and even Middle Earth and Land Legend, because they're set for the Melbourne Cup and for further. But, proper race this, and outstanding watching Sir Delius get off the canvas. Yeah,
special moment. I really enjoyed that. That was a highlight of the racing day, as was the next, the Group 1 Sir Rupert Clarke Stakes. Well, I think we all need to start sitting up and taking notice of Sepples. This was a lovely win. Miss Roombini, excellent. For Chain third, and I was on Angel Capital, and I don't think it lost too many admirers there yesterday.
Yeah. Well done for all of us on the Oak Hill Angel Capital double. That was a coma job by two. But look, you can make up lengths in your head, but ultimately Sepples on pace has run 121.3. Well, good luck catching that. All honours the winner. And I know, as unlucky as Angel Capital was, would he have definitely gone past Sepples? I'm not sure. He's just absolutely came to play big time. Outstanding win. Miss Roombini came down the outside lanes that Frosty was trying to get to on Angel Capital. And, we said after Miss Roombini's last run that it was, the horse to follow. But, this was a big leap up in class, and she's taken that lead. So, I think if it goes back to the Mare Series, it'll be winning again. And Feroce is just an underrated animal, so he's run really well. A couple of others were a bit disappointing, like Arkansas Kid on the quick backup. Another Will was planted 3 wide, no cover, but he's sort of in that not sure category. But as I said, can't underline enough. All honours the winner, Sepples.
Indeed. Speaking of impressive winners on the day, here's another half yours. Wouldn't mind having half of this. Berkshire Breeze back in second. Grand Piero was a nice run at big odds back in third, but pretty hard to punch holes in the winner's performance, I would have thought.
Oh, 100%. And another one from the Queensland Carnival. So it's really stood up. It smashed them in the Sunshine Coast Cup. Calandra Cup, I think it's called. And then last done Sydney, huge mid-race move that we underline on our data on our year-round Carnival podcast. And it just came to play with a perfect run yesterday. In fact, the only real query was if Jane was going to get in any trouble from the inside barrier. And then when the good pace was on, stringing him out a long way, she was able to just peek through, and it's going to run a bold race in the Caulfield Cup. And I know because we're pressed for time, I'll just go straight to this last one at Gilded Worlder. Can't rule it out of a Melbourne Cup either. Could King Charles win a Melbourne Cup?
Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, my goodness. So, I put a big circle as the horse to follow from the Caulfield meeting last time, and it's just gone on with it big time. It's smashed them. And compared to the previous winner, Half Yours, not a lot in it. And Half Yours ran the bigger time, ridden right to the line. Gilded Water, Mark Zara sat up big time. So it's probably the horse to follow because they have to get its rating up to qualify for the big race. So big circle around Gilded Water, a big circle early in the day on Miraval, Rose, Shortte and Angel. But the Group 1 winners were outstanding, and it's really set up the spring perfectly.
It's a special time of year, Ralphie. It really is. Grand final next week. It'll be an absolute beauty as well. And, of course, many of our listeners will join yourself and the great man Dane Swan up there at that big lunch up in Kalgoorlie. Can't wait to have you in town, Ralphie. Thanks as always for your time. And punters, head to racetrackralphie.com.au for all the data, all the analysis and all the winners throughout the course of this spring racing campaign. Have a ripper Sunday, Ralphie.
Good on you, Shorty.
There we have it, Racetrack Ralphie. Time now for the 7 o'clock news. Plenty still to come on the program this morning. When we come back, the Brownlow medalist will be with us, Brad Hardie, as South Fremantle look for another premiership later on this afternoon. They're up against the Royals at Optus Stadium. Trevor Tasker and Michael Freedman. That's all between now and 8 o'clock.
And, of course, don't forget to get your texts in on the Retrovision text line 0427 789 571.
Great to have you back on the Aftermath on this Sunday morning. It's David Shortte and Sophie Stone with you. Soph, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if you were going to get the weather out there nice and early this hour or if I was going to get back into activity, but we have. I just quickly want to mention off the text line, this is a great text to come through from a ripper mate that used to play a bit indoor cricket with this fella. He's a very keen punter and supporter of this station, worked here many years. Crackers, good morning, gents and lady, this morning. Spent $30,000 getting involved in the ownership of Apocalyptic about 2 years ago. Such an exciting horse, and the patience shown by Michael Freedman has been exceptional. Cheers from Crackers. So good on you, Crackers. We'll be having a chat to Michael Freedman in this hour, and what a ride that you're in for off that big win there yesterday. So if we talked about ownership in the first hour of the program this morning, this is the sort of horse that would get your excitement levels way up, I'd suggest.
100%. And I've only ever been involved in very slow horses that come second at Northam, Shorty. Whereas imagine being involved in a Group 2 winning horse. That would just be awesome.
Pretty cool. And that's more to come as well, I'd suggest. So good on you, Crackers. Delighted to see that you're involved in a very nice horse there, and that's a good excuse to travel interstate when you've got one like that as well.
100%. Let's get to the weather.
After a huge weekend of racing and sport, we can all do with a Sunday saviour to round out the punting weekend in winning style. The Tab Touch Sunday Saviour is here to sweeten your Sunday on the punt. It's over to the boys to provide this week's edition of Tab Touch Sunday Saviour.
Yes, get involved, punters, whether you're looking to extend your lead or indeed peg a bit back there from yesterday. The Retrovision text line is the spot you need to be this morning. 0427 789 571. Send through your thoughts. You need to have a multi somewhere between 2 and 4 legs. Keep it simple. It needs to be in by 9 o'clock. We've had a stack already in this morning, which we love to see. Throw your hat in the ring. The most successful of those multis will find themselves walking away with a $100 voucher, courtesy of the team at Tab Touch. A big thank you to everybody sending through your entries for this morning, and keep also your thoughts coming through. We'd love to hear from you. Anything you'd like to give us, any questions for Brad that we can put up for him this morning. I'm sure that he'd be happy to answer any questions you have on the way through, maybe some early grand final predictions, Norm Smith medalists and the like. We'd love to hear from you. We'll also be hearing from Trevor Tasker and also Michael Freedman a little bit later on this hour. And in that last 10 minutes, we'll talk a little bit of greyhound racing and also harness racing. Had a great message come through from Russell T. Betts this morning, fresh off success there overnight for Cyclone Geordie in the Battle of Bunbury. So we'll have a little bit of a chat about that, and also the chain train over in New South Wales. He had Iconic Jet go around in a heat of the blacktop, ran third last night at the Gardens there. So we'll have a little bit of discussion about that in the latter part of this hour before we get into, of course, between 8 and 9 here, a very, very big edition of a Racing Rewind. But before that, let's catch up with a Brownlow medalist. Love a chat to Brad Hardie on a Sunday morning.
On the Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Good morning to you, Bradley Hardie. What a big weekend of footy it's been. How do we find you on this Sunday morning?
Morning, Sophie. Good morning, Shortte. And good morning to the listeners. Fantastic. Oh, well, it was a great weekend so far, and we've been set up beautifully, haven't we, for probably the best grand final that we could put together. And what a ripper. Can't wait for it. Only a few more sleeps to go. And like one of your SMSs, I've got a mate who's got a share in Apocalyptic. So, yeah, well done to them yesterday. They were very confident, supremely confident going into their first up race, but thought they'd get better from whatever they did in that race. And didn't she give it to them yesterday, Shorty? So well done to all concerned there.
That is the truth. It was absolutely magnificent there, and the promise of much more to come, I would suggest, Brad. Some good times in store. And speaking of lucky owners, yourself and our great mate Peter Sumich have been pretty lucky yourselves with Swingman of late. It's been a pretty nice ride so far with this horse.
Yeah, he's going all right, the little brutal colt he was, but, well, he's not a colt anymore, Soph. He lost a couple of pounds, but, yeah, no, he's been terrific. We put him into the Perth Stakes, as you know, Shorty, because we just wanted to give him a run. Unfortunately, he was a little shinny that day and didn't have a lot of luck, so we don't think he would have won, but he certainly would have run second with a bit more luck. And then we got the Northern Maidem out of the way, and then a fantastic win last Saturday at Belmont. So looking forward to maybe something a little bit down the track like the Placid Arc. So we're very, very happy with the Taylors and the way the Swingman's going. So it's fantastic.
Well, it's
good
great.
Ride.
And how good, I was chatting with Soph earlier, for you to be doing it with some old former teammates, Brad. The beauty of ownership in racing is a lot of ex-athletes, but friends, be it through business, old schoolmates, old teammates from footy. It's a great way to stay connected and have a common theme and something to keep you together over the years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, the Sumich family are a great family, as we know, and Peter Johnson's a ripper and ripping fellow Peter. And, of course, we've got Jake and Marty Waterman in there as well, so which is good. So I'm not terribly familiar with Jake, but I certainly am with Marty. And, yeah, that's what racing does for people when you get into those little syndicates, Soph. You know, that brings people together in all forms of life. And Shorty, you and I have been, we're going to race. I haven't been to the racecourse for ages, but I mean, I when I did go on a regular basis, mate, you could be rubbing shoulders with the Prime Minister or anybody, because that's the one thing that racing does. It brings us all together, a little bit like AFL footy. There's sort of no ifs or buts. Everybody enjoys the punt, and everybody enjoys a good spectacle, whether it's a horse race or a footy game.
Yeah, you pick your team and you have a crack. It's what it's all about.
And I love that the community all gets around it too. Like, we went to the Northern races last Sunday and it was just a great little family day. There was a band there. I actually chatted to one of your colleagues for a little while, Brad Millsy. We had just a good family day. Lots of little kids running around, dancing to the music in between races. It was great.
Yeah, no, it was good. And, I mean, it reminds me, too, of the nights down at GP, Gloucester Park, and the old Richmond Raceway, Shorty, on a Monday night. Everybody in Fremantle used to get down there, that beautiful bit of grass, turf out the front of the grandstand there, and all the scallywags were out the back bar and having a drink, and I reckon they had a certainty and having a few beers, and, the Millers, the Reagans, and the Shays, and all that sort of stuff. And we had Billy Horn training Village Kid and Satin Over and Pure Steel and all of those sort of horses going around. I mean, as I say, the racing industry in all forms is a great leveller. I love it. Big time, yeah.
Gwenny Stark in the racing office as you came through. There are a lot of Fremantle identities. It was a beautiful time. Bradley, let's get to the footy, though. Friday night, it was another really polished performance from Geelong over Hawthorn. Hawthorn kept coming, to their credit. They maintained the pressure. They kept trying, but the class of Geelong really came to the fore. It's been two finals performances and question marks on whether or not they'd had a hard enough run in, but to be fair to Geelong, in both finals performances, when the opposition have come at them, they've had plenty up their sleeve.
Well, the jury's still out, isn't it? The theory that we were running with on the brekkie was that, was it going to be beneficial for teams like Geelong and Collingwood? We thought, Collingwood probably helps because they've got a few older profile players. Not saying that Geelong don't, but there was more for Collingwood than there was for Geelong, Soph. Or is it better to be continuity, which was Hawthorn and Brisbane? And on Friday night, geez, when it started, you thought, crikey, they've come out a bit sluggish, the Cats. And Hawthorn were all over them, Shorty, and got out to a pretty healthy lead. And then things started to click in. They got things right, just moved a few of the magnets rather than Hawthorn dominating ball possession and pushing it forward and getting the goals through Mitchell Lewis and the like. The Cats got their game going and they were up and running. And by half-time, she was only 1 point between them, and we thought, well, this is what we expected, this was what we wanted. But in the third quarter, they just took over, and they took over in such a big way. And I always say, Shorty, and you and I have had many discussions over a long period of time, I always say you don't learn as much, Sophie, out of when you win. It's when you lose. Because players who play really well when you lose give you heart. The players who play well when you win can look awfully pedestrian when they're not going, things aren't going their way. And that's what happened to Hawthorn. You know, you look at their midfield who'd looked so good, and we're all up and about with it, you know, with Newcomb and Warple and Ward and D'Ambrosio, Weddle, who'd come back into the side. God, didn't they look horrid in that second half? They just couldn't get near the ball, and they really took over. You know, Holmes and Bailey Smith was there all night, and that's the difference. And in the end, the best team won, and it was only the first game in 27 days for Geelong. And we know Hawthorn just seemed to run out of gas. But that's why they're in the market for Merritt and Petrarca. They need someone else. Will Day will come back next year. He's a star. But they still need just that one more midfielder type that can drive them to maybe go even a little deeper next year.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think if they can get that real top-end sort of midfielder to complement what's there and have Day come back in. So they really look to be missing two gun mids in that particular game, and that was where they were overpowered. There's one man I want to just put a great big asterisk next to for next week's Norm Smith medal, because if he plays to this level again, good luck not seeing him pop the Norm Smith medal around his neck, and that's Patrick Dangerfield, 35 years of age, 35 on his back, 31 disposals, 3 goals. There was not a contest that he was in that he didn't win. He was just magnificent, and he really has upped the ante. They've been able to get his workload perfect to the point where he can peak come finals time. And if he plays like this on grand final day, it's hard to see Geelong losing, and it's hard to see him not sticking out.
Well, he was one of the ones that we were talking about. It was, no doubt, it was beneficial for him personally. But you're right, the way they've handled him this year, he's missed a few games. He's been managed a couple of times. He's played a lot forward, Shorty. He's played a lot less midfield time because they've had others who've been able to work that load, and Atkins and co. But he's still got it in him. You can see that. He's got that competitive nature that you just can't buy at Coles. Otherwise, everybody'd be in there buying it off the shelves. And in his class, excuse me, he was... superb, and that's what you want your captain to do. And as I said, I always bemoan Sophie. They're in their huddle for their last-minute instructions from the captain. I wouldn't have a clue what the captain was saying, to be brutally honest. I mean, you wouldn't remember, mate. I want a captain who does, and just don't do as I say, do as I do. And that's what they got on Friday night with Dangerfield. And, he will have a huge say in how this game plays out next Saturday, which is going to be an absolute corker.
Big time.
It was quite amazing. And I did make this comparison yesterday watching Craig Williams win those 2 great Group 1s at Caulfield. It's amazing how people can keep their bodies in such amazing fitness level, and I know they're a slightly different ages. There are about 20 years between them, but he's 35. He's got at least 1, if not 2 or 3 years ahead of him.
Yeah, either way, he's playing at the moment.
He's just amazing.
Look, I've got to tell you, Sophie, it's a job every day to keep yourself in good shape.
Absolutely.
Shorty, that. You and I have been doing that for years, Shorty.
Oh dear.
You've got to be in good shape to be able to handle 6 pots every day. Sophie, I've got to tell you, it doesn't just happen overnight. You've got to work
your forearms are looking great, Brad.
Popeye's got nothing on me and Shorty when it comes to the gate bar of Distro. We'll up there getting down there and having a little bit of a tube. Exactly. absolutely right. I mean, you've got to be professional these days, and that's why they play longer, Soph, to be brutally honest. I mean, if I go back over the journey, and I don't like to go back, but you go back and you see how many players now, Shorty, are getting in excess of 200 games, 250 games, 300, Pendlebury 400. You know, it's because, you know, they look after themselves. It's all they do, and I don't say that maliciously. They're professionals. That's what they do. So, you know, and even when you're not playing, even when you got the tools down and you're having a bit of time off, you're always thinking about it. You're always doing something, a little something every day, just so it doesn't get away from you. And, you know, Dangerfield's always had that explosive power, and that's what happens to older players. If they lose their speed, Boomer Harvey didn't lose it. Danger hasn't lost it. You know, there are players out there. I suppose Pendlebury's the exception to the rule, because he's never really had it. But what he has had is timing on the ground to be able to get rid of the ball, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the bottom line is that's what they do 24/7, and they look after themselves. That's why they bat on a lot deeper than they used to.
I guess the other really big news coming out of the game was Tom Stewart going out with the concussion protocols, and really. There'll be a lot of discussion about this week, Bradley. He will now be forced to miss the grand final with these concussion protocols, and the discussion as to whether or not the pre-finals bye should exist for the week off there, or should it be moved to the week between prelim and grand final will no doubt rage all week.
Well, Soph and Shortte, I understand both sides of the argument, okay? So don't get me wrong. But it's a necessity these days. The head is sacrosanct. I'm filthy that Marby or Charles got 3 weeks. I knew they'd go down that path. You know, if Hawthorn were in the grand final, nothing to see here, move on. And they've gone and penalised that guy for a really solid tackle. He couldn't do much more. He's a big man. You can't tackle with one arm. He's tackled him with two arms. He's tried to roll to the side. He ended up landing on his side. He didn't land on the player. And he went to the ground. So that's a different cause. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Tom Stewart is a star. We know that, and how good a player he is. But that is the element I talk about all the time. It's called at elite level lady luck. You got to have some. Now it's unlucky. Now if someone pulls a hamstring, Sophie, we say, oh, gee, that's bad luck for Shorty. You know, he won't be able to play next week, you know. So, and we move on. But with the head, you can't. This is what we're trying to eradicate from the game. This is why they've got so many litigious things going against them at the moment, the AFL, because they've got to look after the players. And if you get a head knock, and you can take it to the bank, they'll get it changed next year. But it's too late for Tom Stewart now. They'll have the bye between, because Andrew Dillon is so American-centric. He wants to, you know, have that like the NFL, the Super Bowl style build-up, etc. So they'll change it, but they'll also try and swing in a wild card round or something like that. Yeah, I just don't get it. I like the war of attrition. Call me a fuddy-duddy, old fuddy-duddy. I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, for Tom Stewart and Geelong, it's a fact of life. We've got to protect the head. Some people say 12 days isn't long enough, Shorty, you know, to be out of the game. If this happened in round 2, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
No, it's the way of the world, and it's unfortunate for Tom to be missing out the big grand final, but that is what it is. It's a pretty physical game, and these things are going to happen. Now, also, Bradley, we'll touch on this other prelim final. Big performance here from Brisbane to turn things around. Now, we talked about who we thought might meet in the grand final at the start of the finals, and we suggested that it could well be a rematch of Geelong and Brisbane on the wraparound. Brisbane have been good enough to lose that game, but bounce back and win their next couple against Gold Coast. And I thought it was a really impressive performance against Collingwood there yesterday.
Yeah, you know how I've felt, Shorty, all along, and I think I think Brisbane's best is the best. They're banged up now, though, Soph. That's the issue. Obviously Jeb Berry last night getting that shoulder injury. Now he'll do everything he possibly can. Now he's a live chance, I think, to play next week, Shorty. And you say how? Well, I think it's not quite Mel Gibson out of Lethal Weapon, but once they get it back in, I don't think he can do much more damage. But he's going to have to really get it well strapped up again. Probably go out with a little bit of help, and but whether it's the way he plays, it's going to curtail him more than anything else, because he just can't not tackle, because that's the way or crashing, because that's the way he plays. So that's going to be something they're going to have to decide, because they've got a quick turnaround. So if they went home last night, got home about 1 o'clock this morning, they've got to be back on Wednesday. So you haven't got a lot of turnaround time. So, look, they'll bring the whole squad, there's no doubt. But, they'll probably leave it right until Thursday, Friday to decide whether he will or he won't. As I said, I was working with the boys last night, and I just sensed in there, you can tell in their inflections that they think, Brisbane are gone. They started well, and then when Collingwood got to 13 points at half time, I said, hang on. This club is very resilient. They've got some really good players still out on the park, and they've got gears, Shorty. They've got gears. You think they're gone, and then all of a sudden it just gets into top gear and overdrive, and away they go. And, there was a couple of touchy moments. I thought the umpiring was poor last night. I don't think those umpires will be the umpires for the grand final. I thought the umpires on Friday night were impressive, and they'll probably get the gig and keep them together. But the Elliott one's the one they're all talking about, which is fair enough. But it might have been, it wouldn't have been. But it would have, could have, should have. If your auntie had whiskers, she'd be your uncle, Soph. So, it didn't happen. And Collingwood have to do a really, really good overhaul of themselves, Shorty. It did come back to roost. You and I and Marty along the way have discussed, and the boys on Brekkie, the way that McRae handled them from about round 14 had me worried, Soph. There was a lot of managing. There was a lot of this. There was a lot of that. The Bobby Hill thing went skew-if. Howe played about 1 minute in about 8 weeks. We knew Mychek was banged up, tendon toe problem. They continued to play him. He wouldn't play McStay. Yeah, I was worried for them, Shorty. And the overall factor was and I'll get to the penalty one in a minute, the Adelaide form didn't stack up. Hadn't stacked up, and I think that was a bit of overkill. I think they thought they got away with that one, and they got away with it easily, and they thought, right, we're back. But that's not always the case. And again, the one game in 27 days was going to be good for Geelong. We thought it'd be good for Collingwood, but in the end, it didn't matter. They just didn't have the players. And if anybody caught the early stages of the program on TV last night, so Pendlebury in the warm-up, the physio was constantly with him. Constantly with him. Yeah. What are you doing?
Tender. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, no, I'm okay. 2 minutes in, bang, out. That's unforgivable, really.
Brad,
and for such a great player.
Is it too soon to call for a rebuild at Collingwood?
Oh, they should have. This is going down the path of the Eagles.
Yeah.
They've got to move now. See, I'm going to be chastised for this, but I don't care. I've mentioned on this station many times. I believe Fly McRae will be the first coach of Tassie. So he's for the now. He's right for the now. So and he's been on the record, Shorty, through the year. Don't give me draft picks. Give me players.
He still wants players.
So he wants it for the minute. They were in an opportune time. They were 2.5, 3 games in front, halfway through the year and on track. And he might have banked another one, Sophie, had they got through. Who knows? But that's the trick. There's no guarantees in this business. So next year they'll go hard again. They'll go into the marketplace trying to get somebody from someone else's club to stiffen them up. And win one next year, maybe, because they've still got the Dacos boys and the like, to work with. They haven't signed Jamie Elliott yet. I mean, for God's sake, why not? The bloke's been a star in the finals in the losing team.
It was huge again yesterday.
Exactly. So this is their problem. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least that McRae is out of there at the end of next year. So, and going down to Tasmania to be the first coach down there. And I've said that all along, Shorty, you know that?
Yeah.
And,
So Bucks might be looking somewhere else.
And, yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk. They don't need to appoint a coach right now. They can wait until the end of 2026, and that's what they're going to do, I reckon.
Indeed.
We know. And so the planning issues might help them.
Off the text line, Bradley, good morning. Shorty, Soph and Brad. Lovely to hear Soph on air. Guys, 2 cracking games. Paddy Dangerfield inspired his team with 3 goals, 32 disposals, 8 clearances. Tom Stewart's concussion has probably ensured this will be the last year of the pre-finals bye. I think a bye before the GF is a stupid idea. What if Tom Stewart did an ankle or a knee? Zorko should be given a fine for trying to pull off Cox's goggles. Back in 2023, Ben Keys was fined $1,500 for doing the same thing. Have a great day and week, Lisa from Ellenbrook. Good on you, Lisa. Yeah, it was a bit of humour with the goggles. Mason Cox, he's found himself in a little bit of strife. The punters seem, or the opponents do enjoy the mirth they get out of seeing Big Coxie when the goggles get wound up. He doesn't particularly enjoy it.
Yeah, well, he kicked a couple of goals last night, and look, it's been a nice ride for the Texan, but surely we don't see him again. I mean, and enough's enough, you know. And I think, you as I say, when you win, you can gloss it's wallpaper over the cracks, like when they beat Adelaide. I mean, they said, "Oh, yeah, how good was Cox?" Well, mate, he had 4 disposals, and he tried to mark one and hit it straight down the throat of side bottom who kicked the goal. They've got to, as Sophie said, they've got to look to the future now. They've got to try and get some sort of players in that are going to be, beneficial for this team for the next 4 or 5 years, not for the next 4 or 5 minutes. And it's true. And Zorko won't care. I mean, he was their best player at half-time for Collingwood, Zorko. God, he give him 3 goals. So, but to his credit, and there's a love affair between him and the coach. You saw that when he kicked the goal in the last quarter. He ran off and to celebrate, and who did he celebrate with? The coach.
Absolutely.
They had a big hug. You got to put up with that. As I said, he gets the ball that much. He's always going to give you a stinker at some stage during the game. He gave us 3 in the first half yesterday, and we thought, oh my God! But to his credit, that's the resilience that this club's got. They said, righto, compartmentalise that, and let's go again.
He bites off some pretty tough kicks to his credit too. There's some pretty tricky ones that a lot of guys wouldn't have the nourish to have a crack at. A couple of more text messages before we get your Sunday saviour and bid you a farewell on this Sunday. Every time I write Brisbane off, they prove me wrong. Question is, have they got one more shot to fire? It makes for a cracking grand final. Either team under 29 points might be the go. That's from Greg L. Thank you, Greg L. Hi, Shorty, Sophie and Brad. Collingwood made the cardinal sin playing a player that wasn't right, hoping Brisbane don't do the same thing next week. That's from Snoz, and he'd be alluding to Lockie Neal, who John Ralph last night was reporting has made a remarkable comeback and has been ticked off to be ready to go for the grand final next Saturday.
Yeah. Look, I'd be surprised, but you always want to sell hope, and that's what they're doing right at the moment. Because, as I say, any soft tissue injury, Sophie, you can nurse yourself through training. You think you're going well, but Shorty, you and I know football is an instinct game. So you can nurse yourself through training. You don't quarter get out of 3/4 pace. You change direction, knowing full well that you've got an issue with a calf or a hamstring or a quad or whatever. And then instinct kicks in on the day, and you look at Dangerfield and you say, "Bang, bang," and that's when it goes straight away. Because you're not thinking about it, and then all of a sudden it can let you down. So yeah, they'll put him through the ringer on that one. I'm sure they'll make sure that you can't take injured players into grand finals, and we'll talk more about it with the boys on the brekkie during the week, Shorty. But look, the thing I like about Brisbane is how I feel about them, but they got ambushed a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? The Mullins to McGluggage, etc., and they snuffed those blokes out. And how good has McGluggage been? And clubs that won't go with players, Hardwick and McRae, have paid the penalty. So they'll be ready for that now. So that's what I'm saying. They've used it once, Geelong, and it's worked for them. They can try it again, and it may not work again. Because Brisbane are going to come up with their own sort of themes and their own sort of philosophy, Shorty. That's why I give them such an excellent chance. And take a bit of the punters, take a bit of the 250 earlier in the week on Tab Touch, and then have your account going during the game. As we saw last night in the market, I was watching it in play, and like heavy favourites Collingwood early, value Brisbane. By the end of the first quarter, you could have had a bet on both teams and not lost. Yeah,
trade in the run and have green books either way, regardless of the result.
Either way.
Brisbane, at the 260 at the moment. It gives you some options heading into the big game, that's for sure. Brad, Sunday saviour for today, where will we be having a bet?
Unless we're going to, Gerald's got a couple down at Nowra today, and I know he likes the one in the first. Nowra race 1, number 4, Perfect Gold Star. Well, Perfect Good Star, I think it's called. $3.50 there, Sophie. So Nowra race 1, number 4. Then we go to Flemington today. This is terrific. Race 7, number 1, I know they're very keen on this. Engine of War. $3.90, Shorty, so 7-1 Flemington, Engine of War. And we'll come home with race 8, Flemington, number 12, Silver Magnate. Love this combination of Begg and Childs, $2. So $3.50, $3.90, $2. Just a lazy $27.30 there today.
Ooh,
so,
lovely. And Brad, who are you here for this morning?
I'm here for the fantastic Group 1 Morts. So with the 17 stores, there's got to be one in a year. Now he's giving away a $500 gift card, guys.
What?
If you buy any of the TVs going out the door at the moment, big screen TVs. Why wouldn't you want to watch the footy and the racing upcoming on a big TV screen? Get in the Hisense, LG, all of those. $500 gift card with those, and you've got the Nude Nut, 1-800-100-100, Sophie. He can do things the banks can't. And don't forget my great mate, Frankie Lee at Ross's Auctions. And we'll have a full preview of the Brownlow medal tomorrow night for those on the brekkie. So we'll see how we go there.
And we'll be toasting the Bulldogs, Bradley, because they go round to the Waffle Grand Final today, taking on East Perth. Geez, the Doggies have had a good year. Can't wait to get along. And they're also in the Colts Grand Final. One of my oldest boys, old teammates, is in that South Freo Colts side.
Brilliant.
We'll get there nice and early today. Get around the Colts. So good luck to Riley Stannard and all of the Doggies boys. And then into the league final. Craig White, geez, had a great year in charge.
Go Whitey and the boys down there at the mighty Red V, and Footscray playing Southport today in the VFL Grand Final. So might be a really, really good weekend, Shorty. So we'll see how we go.
Doggies everywhere, Bradley. Just how we like it. Appreciate your time as always, mate. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll hear from you through the week on the Sports Daily.
Racing and sport from different angles. You are listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Where it is now 18 minutes away from 8 o'clock on this Sunday morning. Thanks for your company. Hope you're travelling particularly well. We've got a massive afternoon upcoming up there on the Goldfields this afternoon. Trevor Tasker, the chairman of the KBRC, has been good enough to join us on this Sunday morning. Trev, welcome. David Shortte and Sophie Stone with you. How do we find you this morning up there in Cal?
Yeah, lovely morning up here this morning. We're looking for a temperature today of about 23 degrees, no cloud around, and beautiful sunny day for the races.
Oh, magnificent. Sounds like a wonderful afternoon to be trackside. If you're yet to make plans, make sure you get there this afternoon because we've got the listed Blue Spec Drilling Boulder Cup, the feature race on the program. Shapes up as an absolute beauty. And I'll tell you what, this is just the entree because not too far away around the corner, we've got the Kalgoorlie Cup, the Golden Saddle. Things are really starting to heat up there on the Goldfields, Trev.
It is really looking good up here for the All. It's an exciting time going forward. The work that we've done over at the track, and it's absolutely looking amazing. The best the surface has been for many a year, and the outgoings around the track, the grandstand, everything. We spent a lot of time refurbishing things and getting everything up, and we just can't wait for the start of the Boulder Cup and the round today.
It's going to be a wonderful afternoon from a weather perspective, Trev, but the racing is excellent. The feature race itself this afternoon, you've drawn together a wonderful field. Starry Heights, William Pike back up on the Goldfield. Sentimental Hero's been racing really well. The top weight, Ginger Baker, coming off some really good form, outstanding in taking out the Coolgardie Cup. Just has to lump the big weight today, but you'd be delighted with the field you've assembled for the feature there this afternoon.
No, it's a real beauty. Very, very happy with what we got. And when you get the likes of Willie coming up here to ride for Grant and Alana, you know that you've got to be watching what the market's doing because I'm sure there'll be a lot of money for it. But I believe with what's in there's a lot of chances today. It's a more open race than what people give it credit for. I think there's quite a few chances in it.
And, of course, the Tom Sayers Memorial Sprint is also a great race there on the day, close at hand, influencing Boab Boy. The big-name riders up there. Lucy Fiore, she continues to knock up riding a stack of winners, and she'll team up with close at hand, the favourite there in the Tom Sayers.
Yeah, exactly right. And she that is another good race with influencing and Galaxy Affair and horses to that calibre. And Boab Boy, I think it's second start up for David Smith. So it'll be interesting to see how that horse goes today with Troy Turner up. Very interesting race and looking forward to it.
Trev, was there anything on the program you thought our listeners could maybe follow? You get a good close look at them up there throughout the course of the season. Was there a runner of note today you think we might be able to have something on?
Well, I reckon a Ralphy in the Cup, the Helen Harding trained, uncompromised. It hates the wet. It doesn't even like getting in the hose down bay. And we've had a few wet tracks here, and he hasn't really appreciated it. And last week in the Coolgardie Cup, when that horse come down, he got absolutely flattened when he was making his run into a place. Alex Hearn goes on today, and at odds with a nice little gate of number 6. He could be thereabouts. He mightn't be the quality of horse, but as I said, there's a few in it that might be going hammer and tong and watching each other, and he might just sneak up and do something.
it's a $41 chance and $5.25 the place, so you don't have to have too much on there to find out. Earlier on the program today, Trev, we catch up as we do each and every Sunday with Racetrack Ralphy, and no doubt yourself and the rest of the town up there are very excited about the big luncheon you've got coming up around the Kalgoorlie Cup with Dane Swan in town with Racetrack Ralphy. Tell us a little bit about this, and if anybody's heading up there, how they can get some tickets for the big event.
Oh, we just got to contact the race club office. It's going to be an absolute tremendous afternoon with Ralphy and Dane Swan strutting their stuff up on the floor. This year we've moved it to the historic Kalgoorlie Bookies ring, and we've refurbished the ring, completely lined it, and we're doing it up so there's going to be a lot of tradition and feeling in there for the big dinner on the Friday before the Cup and the Golden Saddle.
And they tell me that accommodation, she's sold out. The town's in lockdown. Everybody is really ramped up for what's going to be another huge round. And speaking of which, you must be really excited about the addition of the Golden Saddle and the excitement that it'll bring to race day.
I just think the Golden Saddle has given the whole region an opportunity for promotion. It's going to be, the Kalgoorlie Cup's always on everybody's lips Australia-wide. It's one of them events that people put it on their bucket list and want to get there, but now the Golden Saddle as a part of that day, it's going to be the biggest country race day for stakes in Australia that's ever happened, and I just think that it gives us a great opportunity to promote the region and get people here over the next few years as we learn a lot from this year with the Golden Saddle and the promotion of it, and I think we can just make the Kalgoorlie Cup Day that the Ron Sayers Memorial and the Golden Saddle Day, one of the biggest in Australian country racing, and we just got to work on it.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year up there, no doubt about that. Trev, we really appreciate your time this morning here on the Aftermath. To yourself, all the team up there at the KBRC. We're wishing you all the very best for Blue Spec Drilling Boulder Cup Day today, and of course charging on towards the round. It's going to be absolutely first class. Thank you, mate, and enjoy your afternoon of racing.
Thanks, Shorty, and everybody get down to the KBRC today. It's going to be a wonderful afternoon.
Good man. There we have it. Trevor Tasker joining us here on the Aftermath. We're going to have a quick break. When we return, we'll be catching up with Michael Freedman, fresh off big race success yesterday.
Racing and sport from different angles. You are listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
We are in third, followed by Next Gen Open Secret. Apocalyptic is next as they straighten up. And racing to the front, Autumn Blonde with Tupacara being cuddled the outside. Now Apocalyptic chiming in. And Apocalyptic and Tupacara, the two favourites, race to the front of the 200 metres. 2 lengths away then to Artistic Venture. Karinska within the law the outside, but Apocalyptic's broken clear. And Apocalyptic goes on to win the T-Rose. Artistic Venture second, Tupacara third. Queen of Clubs rattling home.
And we've got Michael Freedman, trainer of Apocalyptic, this very exciting filly. Good morning to you, Michael. I've got David Shortte and I'm Soph Stone here to chat with you.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Really well, thank you, Michael. Congratulations. There was a lot of excitement there from Darren Flindell late in the piece, and no doubt from your good self and all of the ownership group. You would have been delighted with the way Apocalyptic went on with the job there yesterday and just blew them up late.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I mean, she's an exciting filly to have in the yard. I thought, through no fault of Tommy, she sort of probably didn't have many favours there yesterday, sort of getting posted a bit deep from the draw, which we were always a little bit concerned about. But, Tommy didn't sort of panic. He just let the race unfold. But I thought, given the run that she had, how good she was late, certainly makes it easy to get out of bed every morning when you're sort of going to tender horses like that.
Big style, yeah. And she, of course, you've been really patient with her. One of our regular listeners and a great friend of the program, Crackers, is a part owner. He sent through a message saying just how patient you'd been with Apocalyptic, and you're really starting to be rewarded for that patience now. She looks to be starting to really put it all together.
Yeah, look, I think, she was obviously a filly that, I've had a pretty high opinion of right from the get-go, and sort of early in the piece, I thought she was, our number one seed for the slipper back in the autumn. But she sort of developed a bit of a foot abscess, and that took quite a long time to resolve. And it almost sort of forced my hand to sort of abandon autumn plans with her. And I guess, with the benefit of hindsight, it may have been a real blessing in disguise that she did sort of pull up stumps in the autumn and had a really good long spell and has obviously come back in great order.
No doubt you've had time to have a look at her now this morning. How has she come through that run from yesterday?
Yeah, really well. She got a little bit of a black eye, so obviously maybe a bit of kickback at some stage during the race, but I think that'll be fine. But apart from that, she's eaten up last night and was nice and bright at trot-ups this morning, so she seems to have come through the run in great order. Excellent.
So what's the rest of the program look like now for Apocalyptic?
At this stage, we'll certainly look at pressing on to the flight stakes over the 1600 in 2 weeks' time against the fillies, and I guess see how that pans out. If she was to maybe have one more run this preparation after that, we may have a look at the Empire Rose in Melbourne for her, but that'd sort of very much depend on how sort of things pan out in the flight stakes first.
All right, so again, just gently as she goes, and she'll reward you with performances like that yesterday. Gee, it was a really nice day for the stable yesterday. Of course, at Newcastle, you had wins with Ruination and also Extractor there. I think for the day, the only runner that you sent to the races that was unplaced was Transgress, but outside of that, Profoundly, Chicago King, Fleet Commander, Provoker were all in the money. It was a really, really nice day for pretty much everything you sent to the track.
Yeah, it was one of the good days. We obviously, we get our share of bad ones too. So you take days like yesterday when you can get them. But no, look, the team's going great. I've got a really good bunch of staff around me, both here in Sydney and up at the Gold Coast now, and the team up there they all ran great, but sort of were around about the money without being able to salute. There was a couple of sort of hard luck stories, but no, things are ticking along well, so hopefully it can continue.
Well, that was fresh off a double there at Newcastle with Magenta Skies and Decorum, and then, of course, Just a Journey as well, successful at Canterbury. So it's been a hell of a few days for the camp.
Yeah, like I said, you take those ones when you can get them, because as anyone in this industry will tell you get your fair share of average days. So certainly those sort of days make up for it.
That's the truth. Well deserved to you, Michael. We really appreciate you taking the time to pick up the phone and have a chat to us this morning across here in the West, and continued success to you. Apocalyptic, stunning winner there of the T-Rose. May there be many more for you heading forward. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
There we have it. Michael Freedman with us this morning here on The Aftermath with David Shortte and Sophie Stone. Continue to get your Sunday saviours through to us, between 2 and 4 legs. They must be through, though, by 9 o'clock this morning. And Soph, what a lovely guy, Mike Freedman, and that hit rate over the last 3 or 4 days just keeps turning up to the races and training winners.
Yeah, incredible. And he deserves it. He's been around the industry for a while now, so it's good to have a fast one or two, isn't it?
That's the truth, having a real purple patch. We touched on it earlier, of course, the Shane Train Williams over there with a black top with his very fine sprinter Iconic Jet running third last night. I think Train made the mention earlier in the week that if the dog missed out, there are some $1 million chase qualifier heats at Wentworth Park next Saturday night, so it'll get another lick of the ice cream and an opportunity to hopefully perform really well there. And just quickly, a little bit of harness racing news as well. Of course, it was a big night at Bunbury last night, and Soph's just going to take us through the concluding stages of the Battle of Bunbury.
1-1, Lincoln Lou right behind the favourite. Then comes Control the Room, who's one off. Lazy Days is 3 wide into the straight. Cyclone Geordie turned for home. Lincoln Lou down to the breather counting sprint lane. Cyclone Geordie, though, he's keeping Lincoln Lou at bay as they peel away from the rest of the pack, and it's Cyclone Geordie too strong. Cyclone Geordie a length and a half to Lincoln Lou. Control the Room and Chase Me along the inside has grabbed fourth.
This very exciting youngster, Cyclone Geordie, continues on its merry way, and the point that Russ makes on his Facebook post was that this was almost an educational sort of trial for this horse, given the way that it was driven for future success, to be able to try and learn some different tricks rather than just rolling to the front and having it in its own terms. sitting in the 1 out, 2 back, and then working in the run. So they're all about educating the horse as well as winning at listed level. It's a pretty encouraging sign when you've got that much ability. And, of course, it was a great night of harness racing as well at Gloucester Park on Friday night. We had a pile of real top-line races throughout the course of the evening. The Kersley was taken out by Chris Folk. Well done to you, Chris, with Sweet Vivian. And then we had the Gary Hall bandwagon a ramp right up, faking it, taking out the Dainty's Daughter Classic at Group 3 level with Maddie Brown in the sulky, defeating Better Than Life. It was then on to Sweet Pins, who went round a short price favourite and was too good for them in the It's Camel Time. And in race number 7, Mr. Smarty, this very, very talented pacer for Gary Hall Jr. getting the job done. We spoke to Senior on the Sports Daily a couple of weeks ago when I stepped in there, Soph, and he rated this horse potentially as his number 2 seed all time. So a wonderful, wonderful wrap for that horse.
And a big shout out to Denny Roberts. It's her 30th birthday this weekend. So
hey, there's a couple of other birthdays as well.
Oh, there actually is. And a big happy birthday to Marty Young. And I'm sure he won't be awake. I think there's a few hours time difference between here and Dubai. But hopefully he's sleeping off a big celebration.
Big style. And Jamie Marsh, it's his 40th birthday today, Jamie. So a very happy birthday to everybody having a celebration for today. It was a big night out there at Cannington as well last night. Heats of the feature series, the WA Bred Championship. Last year's WA Greyhound of the Year, Miss Envy, proving too good for West on Sydney. And in the other of the heats, it was Linguini Manelli for Dave Hobby that was really strong late, defeating Timmy Tesla and Bezecchi. That big feature final will be on there at Cannington next Saturday night. And, of course, don't forget the Waffle Grand Final will be taking place there at Optus Stadium later on today. There'll be a big crowd in attendance. The market there sees South Fremantle $1.12, East Perth $6.25, that line 34.5. Total points is 130.5. You can go under or over there, but there's a few different options if you're looking to get involved on the Tab Touch site. Also, lots of NFL action. The NBL continues on, and all those grand final markets are now up, and the Brownlow medal as well on Monday night.
And we'll just quickly go over some Sunday saviours for you. I've got Chris Nelson. He's at the Sunshine Coast today. Race 2, number 1. Race 7, number 7. And race 8, number 1. And Brad Hardie likes Nowra race 1, number 4. Flemington race 7, number 8. And Flemington race 8, number 12.
Beautiful, Soph. Great working with you this morning. Stay tuned here to TAB Radio. Have a look at this. We've got Lockie Taylor and Scotty Embry all set to take you through Racing Rewind. Enjoy your Sunday, punters.
Thanks for your time, Shorty.
Thanks, Soph.